On our wedding day, Thomas disappeared. The guests whispered, speculating about who the young master had abandoned his vows for. I crouched in the dressing room, anxiously calling him, once, twice, more than a dozen times. Finally, the call connected, but a delicate female voice answered. "Who are you looking for?" A chill went through me. "Tell Thomas to get here and get married." There was a long silence. Finally, Thomas' voice came through. "She needs me." The line went dead. I sighed, went back out to the reception hall, and took the microphone from the host. "Let's eat." Since he wouldn't grant me this final shred of dignity, then the matter of the investment was off the table. In our 7 years together, Thomas had never spoken a harsh word to me. I once thought it was a sign of love. Now, I realized it was precisely because he didn't love me that there were no emotional fluctuations. He was always detached, while I foolishly followed him, forgiving his every excuse, telling myself he just wasn't interested in ceremony. His friends had once subtly mocked me. "Even if you forgot your own wedding day, Alara would probably forgive you." I hadn't understood then, nor had I realized that his friend's attitude was a reflection of his own. He had never respected me. I changed out of my wedding dress and, feigning composure, sat down at the main table. I gestured to Thomas' parents. "Let's eat. 200 tables of food shouldn't go to waste because of one person." His parents looked mortified but could only nod. My own parents were livid, on the verge of an explosion. I stopped them with a shake of my head. What was done was done. Making a scene would only bring more shame upon myself. The meal was eaten in silence. The guests, too, ate with their heads down, the atmosphere thick with unspoken tension, but the whispers still reached my ears, like needles pricking my skin. I knew it. How could the great young Master Thomas get married so quickly, and to such a boring woman? I heard her family are nouveau riche. They only came into money when she was in her 20s. So uncultured. That's what happens when you have money but no class. This wedding is a mess. If Thomas actually showed up to this, I'd laugh at him for the rest of his life. I fought to control my anger, but my hand holding the rice bowl still trembled. I could accept that he didn't love me, but I couldn't tolerate being humiliated like this, at such an important event. Embarrassment, shame, and humiliation wove an invisible net around me. Every casual glance from a passerby was like a sharp blade, stabbing at my pride. Finally, I couldn't take it anymore. I slammed my bowl down. "You all enjoy. I'm going to rest," Thomas' father quickly said. "Alara, don't worry, we'll find Thomas and bring him back immediately." I laughed bitterly. "What's the point of bringing him back now?" his mother asked timidly. "So, when will the wedding be?" At that, my father finally erupted. He slammed his hand on the table and roared at them. "The wedding is over. We're getting a divorce immediately." My mother added sarcastically. "He clearly doesn't think we're good enough for him. Let's just forget it." Thomas' father opened his mouth to say something but then closed it. All right, Thomas' grandmother interjected. "What happened today was our family's fault. Let's not argue in public. We'll talk at home." She glanced at the gawking guests, and for the moment, everyone quieted down, but the resentment lingered. I had no intention of giving his family another chance. That night, Thomas was found, along with another woman. She stood beside him, looking gentle and soft, but somehow creating a space between us. "So you're the girl Thomas was talking about," she said in a sweet, delicate voice. "Yes," I said, a bitter laugh escaping me. "Legally, his wife. For now." To my great misfortune, we had registered our marriage before the ceremony. The girl froze, her eyes blinking as if about to cry. "Are you misunderstanding something between Thomas and me?" She glanced at him, a faint smile on her lips. "There's really nothing between us." Her act left me bewildered. She was the woman he had abandoned me at the altar for, and she called it nothing. I walked past her and confronted Thomas directly. "So, what is going on?" The silent Thomas finally deigned to speak. "She saved my life." The statement was so absurd I didn't know how to react. "So, you're going to repay her with your body? Don't be ridiculous." He poured me a cup of tea. "Calm down and let me explain." According to him, he had been in a car accident 6 months ago and was saved by this woman, Chloe. He had lost his memory, so her family had taken him in. 2 months later, his memory returned, and he went home, but they had stayed in touch. On our wedding day, Chloe's mother had a sudden brain hemorrhage. Thomas rushed over, and that's why he missed the wedding. I was silent for a long time after hearing his story. Chloe dabbed at her eyes. Her voice choked. "I'm sorry, I didn't mean to ruin your wedding." I took a deep breath. "So, your family doesn't know the number for the police or for an ambulance?" Chloe froze. I waited for an explanation, but she just cried, saying nothing. Thomas frowned. Don't be so aggressive. Chloe's family is from the countryside. They just moved to the city. They didn't think of that. What countryside doesn't know the number for the police? I wanted to report him for slandering rural people. It's not a big deal. We're already married. It's just a ceremony, he said dismissively, just as he had for every anniversary for the past 7 years. Clang. I slammed the teacup down. My eyes were cold as I looked at him. I'll write up the divorce papers and send them to you. Make sure you sign them. I didn't want to see either of them for another second. I stood up to leave. Thomas seemed surprised by my firmness and reached out to stop me. Chloe held him back. Let her cool down. You really don't understand a girl's heart at all. Her sweet voice followed me all the way to the door. I closed my eyes, held back my tears, and left without looking back. The moment I got home, I collapsed on the sofa, sobbing into a cushion. My father came out of his study and placed a file on the table. Elara, I won't say much. This is for you to handle. Whatever you decide, we'll support you. If you're still angry and want to beat him up, I'll call your cousin right now. His words made me laugh through my tears. Seeing me smile, my parents finally relaxed. My mother stroked my hair. Don't be too upset. Go out with your friends and relax. I nodded. Don't worry, I've already made my decision. A divorce was certain. Even a fool would have seen the truth after 7 years. Late that night, I sat at my desk, examining the file. Thomas had wronged me, but his family had always been good to me. I hesitated, unsure if I should sign it. A message from my friend Maya popped up. I added Thomas on a side account. You can check his social media. She sent me the login details. Thomas didn't use social media. That's what he had told me. We had never posted about our dates, our meals, our travels. His profile was always blank. I had naively believed that was just his personality, but my friend's message shattered that last illusion. With trembling hands, I logged in. I opened his profile. There were thousands of posts, friends, parents, strangers, scenery, but not me. As I scrolled down, my finger froze. There was Chloe. The timeline matched what he had said 6 months ago, but there was a difference. In a video, Thomas' parents had found him, an amnesiac. Within half a day, he was sitting blankly beside Chloe. Uncle, Auntie, since Thomas has lost his memory, why don't you let him stay with me for a while? I'll take good care of him. Chloe's voice was gentle, her gaze on Thomas full of affection. The amnesiac Thomas clung to her hand, his eyes lost but dependent. His parents exchanged a look and agreed. The caption read, "These 2 months of amnesia were like a dream." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Further down were records of their 2 months together, sweet and unfamiliar. This Thomas would smile gently, accompanying Chloe on all sorts of meaningless but joyful outings. He remembered her birthday and bought her gifts, even 2 months after regaining his memory. While we were planning our wedding, he still remembered to buy her a birthday present. May 29th. I remembered that day. It was the day I went to choose my wedding dress. Thomas sat on the sofa, bored, playing on his phone. I tried on dress after dress, excitedly asking for his opinion. He would just nod distractedly. They're all nice. You don't even care about your own wedding. I had laughed. You know I've never cared about these things, he had replied, lying back on the sofa. But on his social media, there was a photo of an exquisite necklace, a light purple, flower-shaped pendant, clearly a carefully chosen gift. So, he did care about ceremony, just not with me, and his parents knew everything. They had all hidden it from me, and I had thought his family was good to me. I took a deep breath, wiped my tears, and put the file in a drawer. If we were going to end it, it had to be a clean break. I spent the morning drafting the divorce agreement. Luckily, we hadn't been married long, so there wasn't much to discuss. We had planned to get a cat, but he was never willing to go, so we never did. A good thing, too. I wouldn't know how to fight for custody of a cat. I took the agreement to his house. The moment I walked in, I saw him and Chloe on the sofa, laughing and joking. I had never seen him so engrossed. Ahem. I knocked on the door to announce my presence. Oh, Elara, you're here. Sorry, we were just so caught up, Chloe said, covering her mouth in mock surprise. She exchanged a smile with Thomas, a hint of arrogance in her eyes as she glanced at me. I ignored her and threw the papers on the table. Sign it. Thomas was taken aback. You really want a divorce? I had to laugh. After all this, you expect us to continue? Chloe stood up and took my hand. Elara, are you still angry? You've misunderstood our relationship. I pulled my hand away. There's nothing to say. Ah. She yelped and staggered back as if I had bitten her, tears welling in her eyes. Thomas frowned. Don't be so dramatic. It was just a wedding. Is it more important than a person's life? Are you some kind of miracle doctor? I shot back. Would her mother have died without you? Were you the one performing the surgery? No, Elara. I was just so scared. I didn't know what to do. Thomas was the one who drove my mom to the hospital. Chloe sobbed. Thomas' face softened with concern. Thomas, just sign it for now. We have a 1-month cooling off period. We can explain things to Elara then, she said, her hands clasped in front of her as if cheering him on. And he, as usual, fell for it, smiling as he signed the papers. I didn't want any part in their games. After signing, I blocked Thomas' number. Maya, let's go for a drink. Maya had been my friend for years. She had never liked Thomas and had tried to warn me several times, but I was in a love-drunk stupor and hadn't listened. When we met, she didn't even mention his name, just patted my shoulder. Come on, I know a new place with great cocktails. Sweet, low-alcohol drinks were just what I needed. We were chatting when we heard a shout from the next table. Around on young Master Thomas tonight. I looked over and saw him raising a glass. Chloe was beside him, smiling brightly. Heard you divorced that woman, one of his friends asked. Signed the papers. She'll be back, begging you to take her back in a couple of days. Thomas just smiled. His friends laughed raucously. Who's this girl? She saved my life. A chorus of hoots and hollers. Anyone could see the chemistry between them. Let's go, Maya said, pulling me up. Just as we were leaving, a man rushed in. Sorry, I'm late. He was out of breath and apologetically offered to buy us a drink. The commotion caught Thomas' attention. He saw me. A flicker of surprise crossed his face, and he blocked my path. Don't you worry about a thing. I'm paying tonight. I frowned and pushed his hand away. No, thank you, Mr. Lou. Why are you being so formal? He scowled. We're divorced. Should we still be intimate? He reached for me again, but the other man, Leo, pulled him back. Sir, please have some self-respect. Thomas gritted his teeth. Stop pretending. You just found another guy to make me jealous. I burst out laughing. Thomas, are you an idiot? This is Maya's boyfriend, Leo. A wave of sadness washed over me. I knew all of Thomas' friends, but he knew nothing about me, my likes, my social circle. He had never been interested. Thomas stood frozen. Maya pulled me away. As we left, I thought I saw a flash of resentment in Chloe's eyes. Sure enough, we had barely settled into a coffee shop when she appeared. She sat down opposite me, flipping her long hair. Is there something you want? No, I just thought you might have misunderstood my relationship with Thomas, so I wanted to explain. I shook my head. There's nothing to explain. We're divorced. Your business is none of my business. But she ignored me and launched into her story. Thomas' car hit a railing. He had a head injury, but it wasn't serious. He lost his memory. When he woke up, he was so dependent on me, holding my hand. I was going to call the police, but I couldn't leave him like that, so I took him home. Then, we lived together for 2 months. That's all. Really, you're not angry, are you, sister? She looked at me with innocent eyes, but the triumph in them was unmistakable. A few days ago, I might have been angry, but after the wedding, I was numb. I've never lived with a strange man, so I can't say what you did or didn't do. As I said, we're divorced. I took a sip of my coffee. So, has he promised you a future? Her face changed instantly. Her arrogance vanished, replaced by a furious desperation. Before I could react, a coffee cup came flying at my head. It shattered, and blood trickled down my face. You psycho, what are you doing? Maya jumped up and threw her own cup back. Call the police, I told her. The police arrived and took our statements. After hearing my side, the officer was clear. Apologize and pay for the medical expenses. Chloe just cried. You injured her. You have no excuse. The officer insisted. She just kept crying. Thomas rushed in. He glanced at the scene and frowned at me. Why did you have to make such a big deal out of this? I held my wound. Excuse me, maybe you should ask who started it. I just wanted to explain things to her. Chloe sobbed, about to throw herself into his arms. The onlooker's stares made him uncomfortable, and he pushed her away. Stop crying and talk properly. Chloe was stunned by his reaction. Her expression grew even more tragic, but she stopped crying and fell silent. Pay the medical bills and apologize, the officer repeated. Thomas stepped forward. I'll pay. Chloe, apologize. All eyes were on her. She reluctantly lowered her head and mumbled, I'm sorry. I shrugged in acceptance. As I was leaving, Thomas stopped me. Let me take you to the hospital. He reached for my wound, and I flinched in pain. Don't you worry about it. Just make sure you pay, I said, brushing his hand away. Do you have to be so final about this? He asked. Standing there, I had to laugh. Wasn't it you who always complained I was too clingy? For 7 years. His impatience had made me question myself. He could disappear for 2 months, and I wouldn't even notice, placated by a few random messages while I was busy planning surprises for him. It was a ridiculous, one-sided relationship. Before I left, I looked at Chloe. You should think things through, too. She ignored me. I didn't see Thomas again after that. A month is not a long time, but it was long enough for his family's business to show serious problems. The news was full of reports about their financial troubles. They had planned to revive their aging company with a new shopping center but had suddenly abandoned the project, losing all their initial investment. People speculated, inevitably bringing up the wedding. I heard the Liu family lost a lot of money on that wedding. I was surprised they could still afford the new store. No wonder it failed. Did you hear about what happened at the wedding? They completely snubbed the Tian family. So, the Tian family pulled their investment. If that happened to my daughter, I'd not only pull my investment, I'd fund their competitor, even at a loss. Thomas called. Elara, let's meet. His voice was tired. My own mood was light, so I agreed. A month had changed him. The once proud and confident Thomas was now haggard. He sat slumped in a chair, staring at his coffee. I sat down opposite him. What is it? He gathered his thoughts. Elara, I know I wronged you. I nodded. A step in the right direction. But my parents were always good to you. You don't have to be so ruthless. At least, let's finish this project. He looked at me without a trace of guilt. I saw your social media, I said. He froze. I never. He caught himself and fell silent. Anything else? If not, I'm leaving. He said nothing more. It was too hard for the proud young master to admit he was wrong. I shrugged and left. Even if he had apologized, I wouldn't have forgiven him. But since he wouldn't even try, I had no choice but to be even more ruthless. Things went from bad to worse for his family. Their competitor launched a massive subsidy campaign, stealing all their customers. Their cash flow dried up, and they had to close several stores, including their oldest department store. Other investors took notice and began to pull out. The once mighty Liu family empire collapsed overnight, while Thomas was scrambling for investors. I was planning my birthday party. It was my first birthday since the breakup. The first time in 7 years I had celebrated. He had never believed in ceremony, had never even wished me a happy birthday, so I had stopped celebrating, at most buying myself a small cake. This year, I went all out, as if to make up for the past 7 years. The party was a grand affair. Everyone who passed by wished me a happy birthday. I smiled and nodded at them all. Happy birthday, a familiar yet distant voice. I stopped smiling. Thomas, he was undeniably handsome. A touch of dishevelment actually suited him. Happy birthday, he repeated, raising his glass. I nodded politely, as I had to everyone else. He seemed taken aback. He probably expected me to mock him, or to be angry or sad, but I felt nothing for him anymore. I had cried enough tears over him. Happy birthday, Miss Tian. Vincent, his family's main competitor, sauntered over. I saw Vilma's hand tighten around his glass. Young Master Liu, instead of standing here, you should be networking with investors. Vincent taunted. Maybe someone will throw you a bone. Vilma's face went pale. He gave me one last look, his hand half reaching for me before he dropped it. He drank a lot that night. The investors were happy to listen to him, but no one offered any money. They just watched him for entertainment as he desperately tried to salvage his situation. When the party ended, he was waiting for me outside. Let me take you home. No, thank you, I have a driver, I said, polite but distant. I just wanted to spend some time with you. We were together for so long. I'm not used to you not being around. I laughed scornfully. Are you not used to me being gone? Or not used to your doormat being gone? Elara, don't be like this. He put his arm around my shoulder, his voice intimate. Let's just talk. You and I know you have a lot of complaints. Smack. He stood there, stunned. Mr. Liu, please have some self-respect. We are divorced. What do you think you're doing? Chloe appeared from nowhere, berating me. Do you know how sad he's been? Do you know he's been thinking about you constantly? Smack. Another slap. Not from me. Chloe held her face, looking at Thomas in disbelief. His eyes were cold, nothing like the sweet, affectionate man she knew. Stay out of my business. The ever-tearful Chloe didn't cry, so she could control her tears after all. I watched the drama with interest, then turned to my car. Thomas, don't come looking for me again. I have no interest in you anymore. And, I leaned against the car and smiled. I love ceremony. His family finally went bankrupt. My parents then told me that their business had been struggling for years. We had invested in them several times, with no expectation of return, out of respect for our future in-laws. It was a pity it had come to this. I didn't know if Thomas was too confident in himself or too confident in me. To think I would grovel at his feet forever. I put it all behind me and went out with Maya. We went to a bar far away, to avoid running into him. Mr. Zhang, have a look at this, a sweet voice said nearby. It was Chloe. She was dressed provocatively and looked out of place under the bar's lights. Even if his family was bankrupt, they shouldn't have let their savior end up like this. She avoided my gaze. The man she was talking to was eyeing her lecherously. I frowned and gave the bartender some money. Have that girl join us. Chloe hesitated, then came over. Go ahead and laugh, she said, looking down. Thomas not supporting you. At his name, she trembled, her eyes red. He threw me out. A sigh. I should have known. Thomas only ever loved himself. Why not get a proper job? The pay is too low, she said, turning away. I noticed she was still wearing the necklace he had given her. She would rather do this than give up a designer necklace. I suddenly lost interest. I paid and left. We would never see each other again. Epilogue. The moment Chloe saw Thomas, she recognized him, the sole heir to a century-old company, a regular in the news, and he had amnesia, an opportunity. She hid her phone and took his hand. An amnesiac, cared for tenderly, would naturally develop feelings. She lied and said she was his girlfriend. His parents, seeing his dependence on her, agreed to let him stay with her. The living expenses they sent were, of course, pocketed by her family. She was blinded by the luxury. She thought she had hit the jackpot. But after 2 months, his memory returned. She wasn't ready to give up. She tested him, messaging him whenever he was with me. While I was on a perfunctory date with him, he was exchanging ambiguous messages with her. His repeated tolerance fueled her ambition. On the wedding day, she used her mother's illness to pull him away. The moment he arrived, she thought she had won. She grew bolder, moving into his house, provoking me. She thought she would finally be Mrs. Liu. But when his family was on the verge of bankruptcy, she saw his true colors. She and I had never been in the same race. After another drunken night, he threw her out. But she had grown accustomed to a life of luxury. She tried to find a job, but nothing was good enough. She ended up in a bar. Did she regret it? No. But seeing me again brought a flicker of shame and resentment. The first time Thomas met me, he texted his friends, "Country bumpkin." He had started seeing me with a sense of mockery, but I had unexpectedly suited him. An obedient, sensible, beautiful girlfriend, a bit uncultured, but otherwise perfect, and my family was rich. An investment had saved his company from a crisis, so he kept me around. He had always thought I would never leave him, even after the wedding. He thought it was just a temporary setback. She'll come back to me, he had boasted, until the divorce papers were on his table. He wanted to ask me to stay, but his pride wouldn't let him. He was still confident. 7 years. She wouldn't just give up. But things didn't go as planned. First, my family pulled their investment, creating a huge funding gap. Then, the company destabilized, and investors pulled out one by one. The century-old name was just fade a name. Their products were outdated. Without money, his fairweather friends disappeared. Only then did he realize my worth. He thought he could win me back, but every attempt failed. With all hope lost, he spent his days drinking in bars. At some point, he got hooked on drugs. The Liu family was completely broken. People would talk about them for years to come. He abandoned his bride at the altar, and her family pulled their investment and ruined them. How could a century-old company do something so shameful? It was all because of that wastrel son.